No reason not to go live. We got everything ready to go. I mean, normally I have all kinds of talking points, but no, we're not really doing the talking point thing tonight. So, hello everybody, Joey Gilbert. It's been a minute, and geez, why has it been such a long time? Well, I've taken a little break. I've been putting some things together, making some things happen, and really working just to kind of get the law firm back on track. But I'm coming back tonight. I'm going to start my Gloves Off podcast where we're going to start broadcasting it after it's been recorded. We're going to put it through some post production. We're going to run some things around and just make sure that we're not, I don't know, wasting y'all's time. And there's a lot of stuff I want to add in post production that I haven't been able to do from the very beginning. So now, whether you see this live or whether you see it in a recording, I want to ask people, please share this. There's so much we have to talk about, and we're going to get back to the basics, man. I mean, what's so crazy about this is I started this crazy ride on Facebook Live when the nonsense hit with the pandemic. And again, guys, for those of you that are still with your heads in the sand and think that that thing wasn't orchestrated, wasn't planned down to the T, you really need to wake up. You silly gooses that I see in the airport still wearing those face diapers have absolutely lost your minds. They're saying, we're having trouble streaming to Facebook. This may be an issue on Facebook, and it's possible streamers are deleted. I'll keep trying. Well, we'll see. So it looks like it's down on one Facebook, but up on another. So we'll just keep rolling. We're up on Twitter. We're where we need to be. Not surprised at all to see Facebook shutting down the kid. But what's going to be important about this is we need to keep running it. And we're going to be able to take these videos, hopefully, if they're not deleted, and then get them into post and put them on Rumble and other places. And we'll get there. We'll get to that. I couldn't add it to Rumble just yet, but we'll get there. Now, what I want to talk about with everyone is this. So there's a lot of craziness going on. If you live in Nevada or California right now, for that matter, does anybody think for 1 second that this is natural occurring weather? It is August 21st. The 21st of August. It should be 118 degrees in Vegas. Likewise, it should be 100 something degrees up here in northern Nevada, in Reno. It's not. I think as I sit here right now, it's something 70 degrees. It's rainy. It's chilly. It's absolutely man-made weather. Now, before you say, Joey, you conspiracy theorist, I want y'all to tell yourself something. Tone it down a notch. Temper yourselves. Be careful, because you're talking to a man who came out swinging in March 2020 and was right about every single thing I said. I told you all that those face diapers didn't work. Now there's 78 randomized control studies to prove that even you goofballs in your K95s not only look like complete nitwits, but you're doing nothing. And in fact, you're creating an environment that could make you much sicker. Joey, how could you say that? What makes you? Well, it's called science, and it's the real science, not political science. So if you guys remember, I remember reading something during the Athenian flu, okay? The Athenian flu, okay, back in a time, I think 450 BC, fact check me on it if you want to, a really, really long time ago. And why is that? Even back then, covering your face with a cloth or in this case, a face diaper, doesn't protect you because the particulate size, how small the molecules are, the particulates go right through it. So you knuckleheads that continue to wear these things on airplanes, mask your children, not only do you look like complete morons, you are complete morons because it does nothing. And in fact, as I said a minute ago, you're creating an environment where you're depleting yourself, depriving yourself of oxygen, which you need, and you're increasing the CO2 intake that your body is bringing in. And what does that create? That breeds an environment for sickness, okay? Anytime you're depleting your oxygen and including your carbon dioxide intake, that's not good. And in fact, just to prove that I'm right, go check out your OSHA guidelines. For any of you though, any of you out there who have any experience in this occupational, what do you call it? Occupational medicine or occupational safety can back me up on this. OSHA wouldn't allow you to wear one of those face diapers if they're following their own rules for more than 10 to 15 minutes because your oxygen will drop below an unsafe level. Now, I'm not going to turn this into one of my special, you're a moron if you continue to wear a face diaper episodes, because I've got plenty of those and I've got plenty of the information to back it up. So for those of you that are, Joey, why are you doing this? Why are we going back here? Well, it's pretty simple. As we sit here today, President Joe Biden and his, slew of deranged idiots that have been running this country into the ground are actually talking about bringing back the restrictions that he embarrassingly had to walk away from, months and months ago. And I'll remind you, he didn't actually end the COVID pandemic crisis until May of this year? 3 years after it actually hit. And I'll let those of you that are joining me, if you're anywhere from in Nevada, you remember these little diatribes, like I guess we could call them, that I went on, where I was letting you all know that the death rate in Northern Nevada had dropped by 86% by May 2020. So COVID, or whatever you want to call it, the fake pandemic, the scamdemic, was over in Nevada by June of 2020, but no one wanted to talk about that. So we had scumbags in town locally, Kevin Dick at the county, keeping schools closed. They kept testing these kids. They forced your kids to get an unproven, untested, very safe, very, 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 very safe, very unsafe, very dangerous experimental mRNA gene therapy, which now has been linked to massive amounts of myocarditis, which is an inflammation and swelling of the heart muscle, because you use an unproven, unnecessary, totally useless, experimental, well, depending on who you talk to, it's experimental. If you talk to Dr. Judy Mikovits and some of the others, they've known about this spike protein and what it did for decades. And it's all part of a plan. Now, you could disagree with me all you want, that's fine. I'm not here to relitigate COVID. I shouldn't have pressed on this little thing on my face. I would have told my daughter, don't mess around with that thing today, a little zit or something. And then she'd pick at it. And then I'd say, why'd you pick at it? I just picked at it before I came on here so I could feel it. But just bear with me here. Why I'm on here is because we need to talk about some of this stuff. Guys, they're going to try this again. Please, you little sheep. You complete just cowards that stuck your heads in the sand and went along with this. Do not do this to us again, because there's going to be a bunch of us that don't follow this nonsense. And I'll tell you something now. You got the mama bears. You got a lot of dads and regular everyday Americans that should have never been political. Please don't let it get political again. If you went through the COVID nonsense and you saw how wearing a face diaper didn't make a difference versus not wearing one, if you realized or are part of the study of the Zamboni, if you got the Zamboni and still got sick, and if those of you that got 2 or 3 of them and you still got sick, or you caught the vid 2 or 3 times, please don't get this again. And I'm on here because consider this a public safety announcement. You got the Biden administration talking about getting your booster. Well, I'm here to let you know that the booster of the jibber jabby does nothing. And in fact, it can make you far sicker. Now, again, for you idiots down in Las Vegas that have your little radio shows and can't come out and be a man and accept responsibility and accept the fact that you were wrong and that it does not work. And it's not me that's saying it doesn't work. It's the science that says you're 4 times more likely to get or transmit the vid if you got the jibber jabby, and you're more likely to end up hospitalized and more likely to do worse in the hospital if you got the jibber jabby, then I don't know what to tell you. And again now, this is data now, and data doesn't lie. I like to always pull out the data when it fits your narrative, but then suddenly when it's not fitting your narrative, you all run away. Why is that? Is that because you just can't man up to it? So be a man, be a woman, stand up and honor and accept and just bite down and swallow the fact that you were an idiot and you were a coward and you went along with it. Stop hating or throwing shade at people that had the courage and the balls to stand up against the nonsense and just accept it, move on, and don't let it happen again. And again, you always see me ending my my tweets or my videos with hashtag never forget, hashtag never again, hashtag gloves off. That's because we really are in a fight for this nation, for our children. Again, all the nonsense we just went through, if you really think that a cloth face diaper, and mind you, you complete idiots, if you're in an elevator and someone rips a fart and you've got your magic little face diaper on, can you smell it? You're damn right you can. Okay. How do you think that's going to work with, aerosol particles that are so small that they can stay in the air for hours? And I see you knuckleheads walking, you people still working at stores or behind counters, and you got your face diaper on, but then you pull it down to talk to friends. You pull it down to use your phone. You pull it down to eat. You complete knuckleheads on the airplanes. I see these people. They get on. They're still wearing gloves. Some of them are still wearing double face diapered up. They got face shields on. But then the time comes to eat something. They pull off their stuff. Their mask is down around their neck. They're touching everything. The tray table. They're touching their seatbelt. How many hands have touched that seatbelt, right? They're moving, or they got their little pillow on, right? They got their little pillow on and their mask, and then their pillow's off. I see it hit the ground. They're kicking it with their feet. They put it back on. They got their pillow on next to their mask. They eat. They do everything. They touch their phone, and then they put their face diaper back up. That's probably really working for you. You know what? That's biology, microbiology 101. Unless you're, stripping that thing off, washing your hands with bleach, disinfecting your face and putting on a new one out of a clean box, not one out of your pocket, not one out of your backpack, not any of that. And even then, again, you should look up the Cochrane Review. It's probably the most authoritative body out there in medical science and in breaking things down. Look up the Cochrane Review and you'll see, and it's stated very, very eloquently, because some of you little nut jobs are going to play on these words. No statistical significance. Okay, try and say that again with me one more time. No statistical significance from wearing a face diaper to not wearing a face diaper. So what does that mean? Well, in real plain guy speak, that means doesn't do shit. Okay, doesn't do shit. So those of you that think you're doing something, you're virtue signaling, you're politically signaling that that's your tribe, you're part of the nut job tribe. And again, if you're still wearing it, it is a legitimate mental illness now. It legitimately is. And so I have to do this. Why do I have to do this? You'd say, like, Joey, why do you feel like you have to do this? Because when this complete puppet who is installed, okay, using mail-in ballots, is back to his scheming, and again, it's not him. You guys all know who it is. It's Barack Obama talking to him in a headpiece. And again, don't take my words for it. Take President Obama's own words for it. And so he's quarterbacking this with the likes of the Samantha Powers and the rest of those. I don't even know. There's so many of them that are still playing a role here. But when they start this whole nonsense again, because at the end of the day, let's be real here. If Donald Trump would have done half the things they said he did, okay, my God, I mean, think about it. So every day you turn on the news, he's being indicted for stuff that everybody else has done 10 times and nothing happened to him, okay? You got presidents from Carter forward that took all kinds of documents to their houses, libraries, farms, ranches, shindig-digaroos, whatever they did with them, right? They got him in hangars and garages, and no one gives a shit. But Trump's got him in a locked room at Mar-a-Lago, and he was the commander-in-chief when he declassified him, and then Biden reclassifies him, and then he gets arrested. All right, now you got some DA or some agent, whoever it is in Georgia. Okay, like, get out of here. All right, meanwhile, Hillary Clinton's deleting thousands, tens of thousands of emails and bleach bitching stuff and whatever the hell you call it. Nothing. You got people lying to Congress, from Fauci to, who is that, Comey, all of them, all right? The biggest bunch of liars, cheaters, and thieves we've ever seen. Nothing happens. And now why are they doing this? Because at the end of the day, let me tell you something. I am not happy with Trump. First of all, it didn't endorse me when I ran for governor, so that's one. But that's not why. I'm really annoyed with him because of the jab stuff. And I hope to God with the jibber jabby that he comes out at some point and says, look, I had no choice. They had me. But why I have some issues with him, and I actually really like RFK, Robert F. Kennedy. I think he would be another just insane disruptor. They'd probably kill him. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. I don't think he'd even make it. They'd probably try to whack him. And I like this Vivek, all right? I like that guy. But I think they should all work together. Trump's got the momentum, and they're scared to death of him. How do we know they're scared to death of him? And I know this because friends on the other side, Democrats, independents, stop me everywhere, and they say, holy smokes, man, like Trump was right, Trump was right, Trump was right. And many of you also know that. And again, when they work so hard to keep someone out, it's got to make you wonder, what are they scared about? What are they really worried about? They don't want this guy in because they're scared to death of what he would do. All right. And we all know what he would do. So many of these people are getting investigated, going to jail. It would be fantastic. I'd love it personally. I think it'd be an awesome, shot to all these guys. But I also think it's one of the reasons why they won't let him in. I think they will do whatever it takes to prevent Donald Trump from ever getting back in office. And I don't care how you take that. But again, I still don't think anybody else, can win. I can beat him in a primary. It just doesn't. I mean, look, I'm a huge DeSantis fan. I was in Florida tons of times. I actually love her. There's going to be people. He's a global elite puppet. Listen, Ron DeSantis, outside of Kristi Noem, are the best governors in America, hands down. What DeSantis has done in Florida has been incredible. He's done it. You got to hand it to him on that. Now, is he ready for the big stage? I don't think so. I think he should spend 4 more years in Florida and run in 2028. And I actually think, as I've sat back, although I think that Byron Donaldson could end up as VP, he's doing a lot of stumping for Trump. But if we think about this, I think that Vivek would be a great vice president or chief of staff, or I don't know where you could put that guy, pretty much anywhere. I don't know if he's a lawyer. He sure knows his shit in law, speaks better about, the political process and the legal process than most lawyers do. He could go anywhere. But I mean, could you imagine DeSantis and Trump together if they just put this nonsense aside and get in the game together? Or Kristi Noem? I think Kristi and Donald Trump together would be just an incredible ticket. I think that it would bring a lot of people in. I think that she doesn't take any bullshit, and I think she'd be a fantastic vice president. And I think she'd hold a lot of people in countries' feet to the fire that have been very, very naughty these past 3 or 4 years. But then again, can you blame them? You've got a completely compromised, God, I don't even want to call it, what do you call it? Basically geriatric, who's being, basically walked around and paraded around as a president when the guy can't string 2 sentences together. So do you blame any country on the planet for, laughing in our faces? I don't. A little Red Bull. But what's funny is people say, Joey, how are you drinking Red Bull at 8 o'clock at night? Because that's how I roll. All right. As I see it, I got about 5 hours of work left. I ain't going nowhere. So we're going to ride with that Red Bull. And I do have a little Spindrift here too, to wet my whistle. But a couple things, guys. So let's back up a second here. So what's happened to this country in the last 3 years? Well, we've slid off a friggin' cliff. The dollar ain't worth shit. Inflation is through the roof. They're putting their boots on the necks of Americans everywhere, okay? You got an open border with at least 7 million that have come through. I think, you put it up in the 14 million number. Who's supposed to pay for all this? The taxpayer. But again, you know what? I also say it's kind of funny because, you see these other, whether you want to call them Rhino Republicans or Uniparty, they don't give a shit because they're just going to print more money. So what do they care? And they're buying stocks and they're, they've got their family taken care of. So no one gives a shit about the everyday American. They don't care about the people they're bringing in either. So you got to kind of wonder who is going to step up and clean this mess up. And I think, guys, anybody that's paying attention, and whether this hurts your feelings or not, there's only one man who could really withstand the blows and get it done, and that's Trump. And I think he learned a lot from his first term and what they did to him. And I'd love to see him get up there and swing again. That's where I'm at. Now, that being said, we got to back up on a couple things. I want everybody to be mindful of what's going on. So first and foremost, Republicans have got to get in the game. I think Charlie Kirk's the one that said it, that it's the apparatus. We have to be ballot harvesting like mofos, all right? We have to be doing the same thing they're doing. Instead of bitching about it and trying to point it out to people that don't give a shit, we have to do. We have to fight. We have to start beating them at their own game. We're smarter than them. We work harder than them. We're more resourceful than them, okay? We're more honest and just, up on par. So let's get in the fight at the same level. And I'll just say this. To all you Republican, independent, even Democrats out there talking shit that haven't stroked a check, start stroking. Start getting in the fight. Give these candidates, give these party representatives, give these folks the tools they need to fight. All right? If you don't want to do the fighting, if you don't want to canvass, if you don't want to make phone calls, then write a check. You can afford it. All right? To some of you, it's like losing a $20 poker chip. Start stroking checks, big ones. Otherwise, shut your mouth. All right? Don't say anything. Go about your business. But if you care about this country, you care about America, you care about our children, start writing some checks. All right? There's guys like me that are willing to step in and do the fighting for you, but write us a damn check so we can handle business. Since you don't want to. Since you just want to just run your mouth, then let us step up. Okay? And so that leads me to my next topic. So across this country, when you hear me talk about the alphabet mafia, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm not going to get into LG, all that stuff, because what happens is Google and the rest of them will demonetize me, deplatform me. So we're going to have some buzzwords, okay? Alphabet mafia, jibber jabby, okay? Girls, protecting girls' sports. That's another way from saying we don't let those other mentally ill, it is a mental illness. And again, this isn't just me saying this. This is all science, okay? The DSM, whatever the criteria is, up until I think a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, has always listed the opposite of protecting girls' sports as a mental illness, a mental health condition. Now all of a sudden they're like kind of like in a catch-22, because it's like, well, hold on a second. If your genitals, if what's down there doesn't really matter or determine who you are, why are we cutting it off? Or even better, why are we trying to build one out of like foreskin and your insides and like the crazy? Have you guys seen what that looks like? Has anybody seen what happens when they try to do those surgeries? So again, like I said, it's called protecting women's sports. That's the term we're going to use from keeping those other folks out, basically men, from competing in women's sports, because that's what they are. They're a man. They've got a penis. And if they don't, they hacked it off, but they still, were born with one. So if you were born with a DICK, you can never be a chick. If you're born with it, you can never be a chick. Does everybody follow that? So again, now I know this is charged language. I know this is saying a lot, but it has to be said. Because at the end of the day, unless we speak the truth, we can't bring the truth forward. And we're not going to do that. Now, listen, I agree that, equality, fairness, but I also believe women have worked really, really hard to have their own sports, to have their own private places, to feel safe in their own spaces, and that we shouldn't be throwing that out the window for anybody, let alone the 0.03% of the population that's legitimately got these issues, not the ones that think it's cool or want to be a part of something new or want some attention. And again, it is a social contagion. It really is. This whole thing with girls thinking that they're not girls, is a social contagion. And when did it start? When did it explode? Over the last 3 years. What happened in the last 3 years? We had a pandemic where kids were locked out of their schools, locked out of their sports, locked away from their friends, and we had an exacerbation, an explosion of mental health across this country. And as a matter of fact, it's the highest mental health crisis this country and world, even in the UK, these numbers are up there, has ever seen. Now, one thing I'll point out that's very interesting that you'll never see, but the data will support this very, very clearly, is that where they've been doing these surgeries, okay, these affirming surgeries for 2 decades, has proven it's a 19, that's a 1-9, so 19x, 19 times more likely to want to cause self-harm or to want to commit suicide than those that don't. That's a 19x, okay? So what should happen is we should allow children to progress through normal puberty, and when they're about 25 or so, if they then want to do whatever they want to do once their frontal lobe, meaning the front part of their brain, is fully developed and they can actually think clearly, then we'll let them make that decision. But until then, that's not going to happen. And let me tell you this, if that's wrong, why can't kids right now just decide at 9 years old that they don't want to go to bed? Should they determine their bedtimes? Should children decide they can pour themselves a stiff vodka tonic? Should they decide they want to smoke? Smoke weed, how about that? How about, so if you're going to let them make that decision to change, their whatever, should they be allowed now to walk in the dispensary and buy a blunt or two? Some gummies? Do a dab? Come on, guys. Should they, again, for you woke casino cats, all right, or you bankers, can they just walk into a casino and game up? Because clearly, if they can make a decision to do that, they should be able to play some blackjack, baccarat, right? They should be able to bet. I mean, can they at least play Keno? It's just like, bingo, right? Should they be able to play Keno? No, right? I mean, again, what you're basically saying is that the same ages that aren't even allowed to get a tattoo till they're 13, or how about this? My daughter, we were going down to Cabo for spring break. I wanted to take her into a suntan, okay, to get a suntan in a tanning booth. The lady said, "Oh, I'm sorry, sweetheart, you're not 18. The FDA won't allow us." So the FDA won't let a child who was, I might have fibbed a little bit, said she was 16. So this person wouldn't let a 16-year-old get a tan. But if you want to hack off your breasts or your whacker, they won't let you do that. And they won't even let you tell you that, if you don't want to tell your parents, okay, these teachers will protect you because they're also mentally ill, right? They'll protect you from mom and dad knowing. They'll guide you through the process. You can use a gender closet, change your clothes, change your pronoun, be called something else, and they'll get you. And I found out recently, which is going to be a whole, we were waiting for the information to sue Clark County, and oh my God, did we get a treasure trove of data. Clark County's been transitioning students without parental consent. Oh my God, is this going to be an explosion? I am so excited because we needed this. Data's coming in, and they have been in full support of this. I mean, getting them access to sex hormones, okay, to hormones, to puberty blockers, transitioning these kids on the taxpayer's dime. Our schools are at a place they've never been before, meaning they're at the bottom of the barrel, 50th in the nation, and they're more worried about transitioning kids, all right, than they are about making sure that they can compete in the workforce and be able to have a quality of life, all right, quality of life. Again, it's called being functional, okay? These kids are functionally illiterate, and they're more worried about transitioning them than they are about providing them with an actual education so they can survive, provide for themselves, and do and think for themselves. And that should scare everybody. But again, listen, this podcast, or what I should say, Facebook Live, which will be converted to a podcast in time, as we hammer down on my Gloves Off podcast, we'll have information prepared. we're going to do the same thing. This was kind of like me getting back in the saddle, because if you guys remember this, I used to do this every single night, sometimes, 2 and 3 nights a week, during the pandemic. And then we backed off a little bit. But there were times there in the thick of things where I'd go on every night. And I realized something, because I run out places and people say, dude, how come you're not on Facebook anymore? And I was like, well, I really don't have an answer for that, but I'm going to start making sure we can do this again. And I'm going to start making sure we come on here. We're very careful about the things we talk about, because look, man, I want to make sure this channel stays up. I got my YouTube channel on here, Joey Gilbert Inc. It's under JG Companies. I want to make sure that the Facebook stay up, that it's on LinkedIn, that it gets on Twitter, because if we can't have a conversation, if we can't talk about this, we're going to repeat it. And we can never repeat what happened in 2020, 2021, and 2022 again. And let me remind you guys, this. Remember, they kept the mask, the face diaper, I like to call it face diaper, face muzzle mandates in place until 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, because they knew they had to take it off. They knew they couldn't, have a Super Bowl and then still try. So they got rid of it all. And our completely inept scumbag of a dictator, Steve Sisolak, who left the state, ran. I guess he's in Wisconsin now, probably because he could never show his face in this state again, and ran to get out of here. This idiot was, keeping kids in masks. And thank God we have Governor Lombardo now. Again, listen, I'm going to work with him. I'm going to sing his praises, because he did a great job beating back and fighting, scrapping with a bunch of terrorists in our legislature, okay? These guys didn't give a damn about anything for the people. They just wanted their way or the highway, and he had to fight against them to get, as much good as he could for the people of this state. And I applaud him for that. I mean, must not have been easy. I couldn't even sat in the same room with some of these derelicts, but he did a great job. So I'm going to do my best to support what our governor's doing, to support what everyday folks are trying to stand up and stand against. And of course, out in Douglas County, where I am now working very hard as the general counsel for the school district to make sure these kids don't get, treated the same way that we're seeing happening in these bigger counties like Washoe County and Clark County, where no one wants any of this stuff. In our rural counties and in the real Nevada counties, we don't want this nonsense. But, again, it takes leadership, and it takes someone to stand up with the courage and push back against the nonsense. And again, we're going to do that. We're going to protect women in sports. We're going to protect women in their private places, which includes their locker rooms, their bathrooms, and their sports. We're going to work to make sure our teachers get paid more. We're going to work to make sure that everybody that's contributing to this state in a meaningful way and protecting parental rights, protecting children, protecting the fact that parents should be making the decisions for what their kids learn and are exposed to, and not a bunch of far left leaning, cucks at the legislature or down in the, in Clark County. That's the best way I could say it. You know what? I pull no punches. You will only get the truth from me. Gloves off means that. Gloves off means that we are taking the gloves off. We are stepping in the ring, and we're going to say the things that are uncomfortable, challenge folks to do what's right and to do what's best for our kids. That's what it's all about. So again, I want to say thank you all for being on here. If you're watching this, hit the share button, hashtag never again, hashtag never forget, hashtag gloves off, hashtag Joey Gilbert, the people's champ. And again, I'm in it to win it. I'm not going anywhere. Matter of fact, I've got a couple things planned to push back against the nonsense, but it all starts with having a real conversation and just not being afraid to say what needs to be said. And I've said a lot of it tonight. Like I said earlier, those face diapers never did a damn thing. Please take them off and stop. You're scaring the children. If you're still wearing one of those things, not only do you look absolutely ridiculous, but there's 78 studies that prove they don't do a thing. And when you take it on and off the same damn face muzzle, you've just proven, all right, how ridiculous you are and how silly you are, and that absolutely you have no credibility. So knock it off, all right? You're scaring the children. Please stop. And again, nobody go get one of those booster shots, for the love of God. I mean, when it says safe and effective, but then every bit of data that comes out says it didn't do a thing, didn't prevent infection or transmission, didn't help, reduce hospitalizations or death. And that's not me, that's the data. And again, I will steer you to the Cochrane review for your face diapers. Please read that. But the data is out of New South Wales, it's out of the UK, it's out of Israel, it's out of virtually anywhere else other than the United States. Because as Rachel Walensky said, oh, we didn't get that data. You want to know why they stopped keeping the data points on that? Because it was destroying their narrative. So they just thought, oh, well, we'll stop it. We can't track this data and post it anymore because it's completely destroying our narrative on this one. I remember originally it was, this will keep you from catching it. And then it went, oh, this will keep you from getting really sick. And then when it was, this will keep you from the hospital. Now it's like, actually, maybe you shouldn't get it because it really could make things worse because it destroys your broad spectrum antibodies, antibody dependent enhancement. It makes it more likely than not that you'll not only catch it, but you'll do far worse from it when you do catch it because of the jibber jabby. Now, I will leave you with this. I'm going to have all my stuff back. As you guys remember, Amanda used to give my headlines for me, my gloves off headlines. So it's all coming back. And again, my W2F News, my Legal Eagles, my D's Nuts, it's all going to be back. But we're going to produce it a little better, take our time. It really is too hard to go live at a certain time once a week. As a busy dad, as an attorney, as a businessman, I got a lot of stuff going on. So we're going to start pre-recording some episodes. Don't worry, it'll still have the freshest, most up-to-date content that you'll love to share, but please share it. And again, I can't see comments here. I bet you I could once I learn how to work this a little more. I'll be better at it. But I just want to say thank you. Please hit the share button. Let people know that we're here and that we want to keep you in the fight. Stay in the fight with me. And again, new website just is up and ready to go now, joeygilbert.com. Check it out, joeygilbert.com. We've got joeygilbert.substack.com. You can go on Amazon, buy my book, The Championship Formula. And again, the podcast, Gloves Off, will be back. It'll be on Rumble and it'll be streamed to other places once we get all the little kinks worked out of it. But again, this is how you get in the fight. Get behind someone that's not afraid to say what you're all thinking. And you want to say, let me tell you something. I get stopped by Democrats, independents. People come up to me. They say, we are so glad that you are fighting out in Douglas County. We are so glad that you are continuing to say what needs to be said. And again, guys, that's all that matters is that you got someone that's willing to speak the truth and stay in the fight. So again, go on joeygilbert.com, sign up, subscribe. There's going to be ways we can communicate in there. And again, you're going to see there's going to be lawsuits we're going to be bringing because this is not over. It's not over. And when we're hearing through the grapevine and through the people that we know that the restrictions are coming back, everyone needs to stand together. Never again. Do not comply. Do not comply. Don't ever do it again. Tell these people that they look ridiculous to take it off. And please do not, under any circumstance, get the jibber jabby or one of the boosters because it's totally unnecessary. God bless you. We love you. And we are getting off. All right? All right, man. We are done with the show. We're done. Let me bring it on here and say goodbye. Oh, we got things going everywhere. But we love you. God bless. See you next time.